are three good reasons why the Canadian Penitentiary Service must build new penitentiaries in the years to come. First, for the last few years, there's been a regular increase in the rate of imprisonment. Second, certain penitentiaries which already exist must be reduced in size in order to encourage the development of interpersonal relations between inmates and personnel. It is also necessary to speed up the demolition of certain decrepit institutions, such as the St. Vincent de Paul Penitentiary, which a commission of inquiry declared unhealthy as far back as 1938. Third, rising penitentiary costs necessitate optimum use of personnel and physical space. In order to correct shortcomings which already exist, the Canadian Penitentiary Service planned a program to construct new penitentiaries. After conducting an in-depth analysis of its own needs and sociological surveys in certain communities to determine the possible impact of building new institutions, the Canadian Penitentiary Service developed an accelerated construction program, which includes a list of criteria regarding desired styles of architecture, choice of construction sites, and economic repercussions of setting up new penitentiaries. We will attempt to summarize this accelerated construction program for you in 10 points. 1. When the program was planned, the first criterion was that there would be a maximum of approximately 200 inmates per penitentiary, in order to encourage contact between inmates and personnel and apply the living unit concept. 2. The Canadian Penitentiary Service requires only 25 acres for each new penitentiary because of the point just mentioned. The following factors must obviously be taken into account in selecting sites: chances of escape, farmland, respect for the environment, tensions in the community, capital costs, operating costs, advantages to the community, ease of operation, and accessibility. 3. Sites must be close to major urban centers, for the simple reason that most inmates, like most of the population, come from urban centers. In order to encourage inmates' families to visit, and in order to prevent families from being split up. In order to encourage, in the case of medium and minimum security institutions, contact with the community when inmates are temporarily released. In order to make local services, such as those of hospitals, fire departments, and so on, which already exist in the community, more accessible, and thus avoid duplication. In order to attract and keep qualified specialized personnel, such as psychologists, guidance counselors, social workers, and so on. In order to make it possible to have specialized personnel, such as dentists and doctors, work part-time. In order to reduce operating costs, since means of transportation would be readily available. In order to make pre-release planning easier. And in order to make institutions more accessible to trainees and/or other people who would like to conduct special studies. 4. The average cost of building a penitentiary is $16.5 million. Building new institutions would also create jobs in the construction industry. 5. Although the government does not have to pay municipal taxes, it must pay for the services it obtains from municipalities. All things considered, the amount of money the government pays the municipality is the same as it would pay if it were bound to do so by law. 6. The amount of money the penitentiaries spend in the community comes to approximately $350,000. 7. One of the most important effects of building penitentiaries is the creation of jobs. It's been determined that building a standard penitentiary creates 200 jobs directly within the institution. 25% of these positions are filled by transfers of Canadian Penitentiary Service personnel. The rest are filled in accordance with public service standards, with priority being given applicants who are referred by their local manpower center. It should be noted that with the exception of security positions, women have equal employment opportunities. Building a penitentiary can be compared to setting up a primary industry, because the investments required to construct an institution come from outside the area where it is to be located. Studies have shown that primary industries cause job opportunities to multiply because of employees' buying power, purchasing of goods and services. 8. It should be emphasized the premises of penitentiaries, for example, classrooms and playing fields, could perhaps be used for community purposes. 9. The product of prisoners' work, for example, park benches, could be used by the community. 10. Because of the very nature of the work, there would never be any shortage of jobs owing to an economic slowdown. We cannot sell the idea of building a penitentiary in your locality in the same way as others can use propaganda to promote the establishment of primary industries, and we do not intend to do so. We at the Canadian Penitentiary Service believe a penitentiary is a community institution, the same as a hospital or school. Try not to have the same reactions as our cartoon characters in part 1 of our slideshow. Instead, remember, we are deciding the fate of men and women who will one day re-enter society.